This case unfolded in Malaysia, in the heart of the capital, Kuala Lumpur. The Cap Square residences are renowned for their luxury and exclusivity, offering an air of sophistication for those who can afford it. Located between two iconic landmarks, the towering Petronas Twin Towers and the upscale shopping mall Surya KLCC, this prestigious complex provides expansive, modern units and a taste of opulence. Its lavish amenities include a well-equipped gym, a spa, lush gardens, and a pristine swimming pool. Security is a top priority, with 24/7 CCTV surveillance and restricted access to ensure the safety of the residents. That's why it came as a shock to everyone when a gruesome incident unfolded in this seemingly safe, family-friendly apartment complex. Malaysia, a country with strict drug laws, where even possession of illicit substances can lead to the death penalty, was rocked by reports of reckless behavior and what seemed like a possible murder. On the afternoon of December 7, 2017, at approximately 2:45 p.m., a resident on the 6th floor of Cap Square Residences returned to his apartment. As he approached the balcony, he was horrified to find the wooden canopy that covered it shattered into pieces. There were splinters and debris scattered all over, most of it gathered in one particular area. The damage was so explosive, he couldn't fathom what could have caused it. As he walked closer to inspect the wreckage, he noticed something strange. At first, it wasn't clear what he was looking at, but as the shape became clearer, his heart sank. It was the body of a woman, completely naked. Her body was stiff and contorted in a strange, unnatural way. Her arms were crossed over her chest, almost as though she were frozen in a death pose, something between a cannonball dive and a ritualistic arrangement. The sight was grotesque, and it was immediately obvious that she had fallen through the canopy. The resident was left in utter disbelief. He quickly dialed the police, his mind racing with questions. Who was she? How did she end up there? He didn't recognize her, and she appeared young, too young perhaps. Could she have been a child? The resident told the authorities that he had left his apartment earlier that morning at around 9:30 a.m., meaning whatever had transpired occurred between then and his return. Strangely, no one else had reported hearing or seeing anything unusual. It seemed impossible that no one would have heard the sound of a body crashing through a balcony canopy. The investigators learned that no one in the building recognized the woman as a resident, which only deepened the mystery. They decided to check the building's CCTV footage for answers. The footage revealed a crucial piece of the puzzle. At 5:44 a.m. that same morning, the cameras caught a woman matching the description of the body entering the elevator with a couple, Alexander and Luna Johnson. The Johnsons were a wealthy American couple living on the 20th floor of Cap Square Residences. The footage showed the woman entering the elevator with them, but after that, no one was seen leaving the building. There was no trace of the woman, nor of the couple leaving. The investigators headed to the Johnsons' apartment, accompanied by the building's caretaker, and knocked on the door. When there was no answer, the caretaker reported hearing faint sounds from inside, like the clinking of glasses. It was clear that someone was home, but why weren't they answering? Despite this, the officers decided not to force entry and left, planning to return later. When they knocked again at around 5 p.m., this time the door opened, and Alexander and Luna Johnson greeted them. They claimed to have no knowledge of the woman or how she ended up dead on the 6th floor balcony. The woman was identified as Ivana Smit, a Dutch model who had been staying with them. According to the Johnsons, they had no idea what happened and insisted they hadn't seen or heard anything suspicious. However, something didn't sit right with the authorities. Ivana Smit, born on January 4, 1999, had been a rising star in the modeling world. The circumstances surrounding her tragic fall were far from ordinary, and as the investigation progressed, the story began to unravel in ways no one could have anticipated. This was no simple case of an accidental death. The more the investigators dug into the lives of Alexander and Luna Johnson, the more they uncovered a web of secrecy. The couple, it seemed, had been living a hidden lifestyle, one involving drugs, excess, and questionable behavior. Was Ivana's death a tragic accident, or had it been something more sinister? Did her fall result from a night gone wrong, or was it the result of something much darker? As the investigation continued, the truth about the Johnsons' secret life began to surface. There were whispers of illicit substances, wild parties, and even rumors of violence. The idea that Ivana Smit's fall had been an accident seemed increasingly unlikely. The question remained, did the couple's reckless lifestyle lead to the death of a young woman? Or was there something more to the story? This tragic and mysterious case raised unsettling questions about the lives of those who seemed to have everything: wealth, luxury, and status, yet maybe hiding something much darker behind closed doors. The story of Ivana Smit's death continues to captivate, leaving more questions than answers, and an enduring mystery that many are still trying to solve. Ivana Smit was born on January 4, 1999, in the small town of Limburg, Netherlands. As the youngest child in her family, she was especially close to her parents, with a 14-year gap between her and her older brother. Ivana was of mixed heritage, with Dutch and Chinese Indonesian roots. From a young age, she had big dreams and was determined to work hard to make them come true. Although her parents were busy managing a used car dealership and couldn't always be around, Ivana spent much of her childhood with her grandparents. In 2002, when her grandparents moved to Penang, Malaysia, Ivana missed them terribly. She was so upset about the separation that she refused to eat until she could join them. Eventually, Ivana made the move to Penang, where she grew up. She attended school there from kindergarten through to high school, and even graduated early at the age of 16. Ivana was raised with strong values of respect, discipline, and dedication. These traits became evident as she became fluent in 4 languages: Dutch, English, Mandarin, and Malay. She was also musically talented, playing both the guitar and piano, and held a black belt in Taekwondo. Her pursuit of excellence extended to every area of her life. Ivana's modeling career began at the age of 13, and by 15, she was already making waves in the industry. She earned second runner-up in the Malaysia Supermodel Search, a significant achievement that helped her gain attention in the modeling world. Standing at 5 feet 11 inches, Ivana's dream was to become a top model, and her drive to achieve that goal never wavered. After spending some time in Belgium, she moved to Kuala Lumpur at 18 to further pursue her career, and it was there that her modeling journey truly took off. In Kuala Lumpur, Ivana signed with the Triumph modeling agency and quickly began walking the runways and appearing in high-profile photo shoots. Her ambition led her to dream of becoming a Victoria's Secret angel. In 2017, while still building her career, Ivana met Lucas Kramer, a fellow model. They began dating soon after, and their relationship brought Ivana happiness. They shared an understanding of each other's careers and offered mutual support as they navigated the demanding modeling world. At the same time, Ivana was preparing to compete in the Top Model Belgium 2018 contest in Paris. She was on the verge of major success when, in 2017, she was introduced to Alexander and Luna Johnson. The couple was well connected in the social circles of Kuala Lumpur, and their relationship with Ivana began through a mutual contact from the modeling industry. The Johnsons, an American-Kazakh couple, seemed friendly and fun-loving when they met Ivana at Prime, a popular nightclub in Kuala Lumpur during a Halloween event. Luna Johnson, 31, worked in education, while her husband, Alexander, 44, was a prominent cryptocurrency entrepreneur. The couple had been living in Kuala Lumpur for nearly a decade, and Alex had built a reputation as a powerful figure in the area. Despite their significant age gap, the Johnsons were known for their progressive relationship and openness to new experiences, including 3-way encounters. Luna, who identified as bisexual, quickly connected with Ivana, and the two bonded over their shared interests. The night they met, Ivana and Luna shared playful, flirtatious exchanges on the dance floor, and Ivana even remarked to Alex that Luna was awesome. The couple later fondly recalled Ivana as being bold, charismatic, and confident. Following that night, the three stayed in touch through a WhatsApp group filled with flirtatious messages. Alex and Luna later confessed that they had assumed Ivana was 26 years old, though they were surprised to learn she was only 18. In the US, of course, someone that age wouldn't even be able to buy alcohol yet. Regardless, their relationship moved quickly. Just a few days later, on November 4th, the Johnsons arranged childcare for their daughter and spent the night with Ivana at the Concord Hotel. The night involved wild partying and a three-way encounter between the three of them. The following morning, Ivana sent Luna a text, saying, "Hey sexy, what are you doing? Thanks for last night." Luna responded warmly, hinting that she was eager to see Ivana again. Alex and Luna later admitted that this was their first intimate encounter with Ivana, but it wasn't to be the last. Over the following weeks, the trio grew closer, spending more time together and becoming more intimately connected than they had with their previous partners. They frequented clubs around Kuala Lumpur, with their relationship becoming more intense and open. Throughout this period, Ivana continued to stay with friends, working steadily on her modeling career and attending paid modeling gigs. At the same time, she began to grow closer to Alex and Luna. Their bond was deepening, and Ivana's life seemed to be unfolding just as she had always dreamed. Her career taking off while she navigated relationships with people who were supportive of her ambitions. But the complexities of this relationship, combined with Ivana's rising success, would soon set the stage for a series of tragic events that no one could have predicted. On December 6th, Ivana attended an event at Mantra Rooftop Bar, an upscale venue offering sweeping views of the city and attracting an affluent crowd. Her agent, who wished to remain anonymous, later revealed that although Ivana appeared fine at first, she quickly began seeking drugs, particularly ecstasy. Not long after arriving, Alex and Luna joined Ivana at the bar. CCTV footage captured Ivana dancing with Alex and Luna mingling with the crowd. The three were frequently seen heading to the washroom together. Around 2:15 a.m., they left Mantra and made their way to Nine Club, a popular nightclub known for its elite clientele and reputation for drugs. CCTV footage from Nine Club showed the trio still there at 5:22 a.m. Later footage captured Alex carrying Ivana towards the elevator, with her arms around him as she playfully kicked her feet. Luna followed behind, dressed elegantly, and other clubgoers were visible in the background. The cameras at Cap Square residences then caught the three entering the building and heading up to the Johnsons' apartment at 5:44 a.m. Once inside the apartment, Luna dismissed the babysitter, and Ivana relaxed on the sofa with Luna, sipping cider. Ivana had originally told her boyfriend, Lucas, that she would return home earlier that night, but instead, she decided to stay out longer. Around 6:30 a.m., Lucas, noticing she hadn't come home yet, called to check in. Ivana reassured him that she was fine and explained she had decided to stay with a friend. Lucas was relieved and accepted her explanation. However, just minutes later, he received another call from Ivana's phone. This time, it was Luna, who confirmed Ivana was with her and asked if everything was okay. Lucas found this a bit odd, as he hadn't questioned Ivana's initial explanation. What he didn't know was that Ivana was with Luna and her husband, Alex. Lucas had assumed Ivana was with just a female friend, unaware that she had been intimate with Alex before. At 7:24 a.m., Ivana sent Lucas a selfie with a message saying she was chilling. Lucas found the message a little strange for Ivana, but chalked it up to her long night of partying. Luna later recounted the morning, saying she woke up to find her daughter already up. She joined her for breakfast and spent some time talking to Ivana. Luna described Ivana as being very drunk. She continued talking to Ivana while getting her daughter ready for school, and Ivana laid down on the sofa as she took her daughter to class. Luna was gone for about 30 minutes and returned to the apartment at 8:15 a.m. When she returned, she found Ivana awake on the bed next to Alex, who was still asleep. Luna joined them, and Ivana said, "Okay, now I'm free." Afterward, Ivana and Luna spent some time on the sofa. Ivana put on some music, and unexpectedly, she undressed. According to Luna, the two became intimate in the bedroom. Following this, Luna, feeling exhausted, lay down with Alex. Around 10 a.m., Luna got up again and noticed Ivana wandering around the apartment, talking to herself and giggling. Luna, feeling drained, returned to the bedroom and quickly fell asleep. At 1:25 p.m., Luna woke up again and noticed Ivana's belongings, her clothes, shoes, bag, and phone, still scattered around the apartment. But Ivana was nowhere to be found. Luna assumed Ivana had borrowed some clothes and gone off to a photo shoot she had mentioned earlier. She went back to sleep, believing everything was fine. If the Johnsons' account is accurate, it would have been sometime between 10 a.m. and 2:45 p.m. that Ivana fell from the 20th floor balcony of their apartment. The fall, which was roughly 42 meters, 14 stories, would have been fatal to anyone. The Johnsons were unaware of what had happened until the police arrived at their door at 5 p.m., informing them of Ivana's death. They claimed they were asleep when the fall occurred, and they appeared oddly detached as they sat with the officers. Despite the tragic news, they made no attempt to check the balcony or look outside. Now, if something like this happened in your home, how would you react? Wouldn't you want to look outside, check for signs of a struggle, or at least show some sign of shock? The Johnsons' behavior was unsettlingly indifferent, raising even more questions about the events that had led to Ivana's death. If this were happening in my home, I'd be rushing to the balcony to see for myself. But the Johnsons seemed oddly prepared when the police arrived. Inside their apartment, investigators found Ivana's belongings, including her clothes and bag, though her underwear was notably missing. The Johnsons were initially taken into custody, though not specifically due to Ivana's death. They were detained on suspicion of drug use, which is a serious offense in Malaysia. The country enforces strict penalties for drug-related crimes, ranging from hefty fines and long prison sentences to the death penalty. Initial tests revealed that both Alex and Luna tested positive for drug use, but things took a strange turn when they requested a second test. This retest came back negative, which raised suspicions. Normally, when test results vary, a third test would be conducted to confirm the findings, but instead, the second test was accepted, clearing their names. This unusual decision makes one wonder if their financial resources played a role in how the investigation was handled. Adding to the intrigue, the Johnsons were treated unusually well while in custody. Shortly after being questioned, they were allowed to make a phone call. They contacted their cleaning lady and instructed her to go to their apartment and clean up. Shockingly, the police had not secured the apartment as a potential crime scene, allowing the cleaner to enter and begin tidying up. The cleaner even disposed of glass shards from a broken cider bottle, which could have contained crucial forensic evidence. By the time investigators arrived, the scene had already been compromised, and valuable evidence could have been lost. The photographs taken of the scene were criticized for being inadequate. Instead of capturing a comprehensive layout of the apartment, only a few angles were documented, making the investigation seem rushed and incomplete. These decisions, along with the mishandling of the crime scene, raised troubling questions. Was Ivana's death truly an accident, or was there an attempt to cover up something darker? Ivana's boyfriend, Lucas, delivered the heartbreaking news to her family, who quickly traveled to Kuala Lumpur to retrieve her body and demand answers. However, they were met with resistance. The authorities presented them with a document for the release of Ivana's body, but it required them to sign a statement declaring that her death was not a criminal matter. Ivana's family refused, convinced that the circumstances surrounding her final hours were far from clear. Friends and family of Ivana also questioned the initial claim of an accidental fall. To them, it seemed like Malaysian authorities were eager to close the case without properly investigating, quickly ruling out any foul play. Within just one day of Ivana's death, the authorities had declared the case an open and shut matter, attributing her death to an accidental fall, likely caused by alcohol or other substances. However, even the way the autopsy was handled raised concerns. For one, the coroner failed to take Ivana's body temperature, which is a vital step in determining the time of death. When the autopsy was finally conducted after a significant delay, it revealed multiple substances in Ivana's blood, and the cause of death was listed as a torn, corroded artery. The report suggested that Ivana likely survived only briefly after the fall, suffering from multiple internal injuries, including the ruptured artery. The tear in the artery would have cut off the majority of her brain's blood supply, causing her to lose consciousness almost immediately after the fall. When Ivana's family finally saw her body, their suspicions deepened. Bruises were visible on her arms and legs, adding to their growing belief that something was amiss. With their doubts mounting, they managed to secure the release of Ivana's body and brought her back to the Netherlands for further examination. In the Netherlands, a second autopsy was conducted by renowned pathologist Dr. Frank van der Goot, whose findings contradicted the initial report from Malaysia. Dr. van der Goot discovered a significant bruise on Ivana's head, one that he believed was inflicted before her fall. This injury raised questions about whether Ivana had been attacked or harmed in some way prior to her fatal plunge. Additionally, the toxicology report from the Netherlands revealed some startling information. While Ivana's blood contained alcohol and cocaine, as noted in the Malaysian report, it also revealed traces of another dangerous substance, PMMA, parmethoxyam methylamphetamine. This substance is known to cause rapid overheating, heart problems, and other severe physiological reactions, which could have played a role in her behavior and health before her death. The results indicated that she had enough of the drug in her system to cause a potentially fatal overdose. What's more, the position of Ivana's body when it was found was perplexing. She was lying flat on the ground with her arms crossed in front of her chest, an odd pose for someone who had supposedly fallen. Typically, after such a fall, the body would be more contorted or braced for impact. This unusual positioning prompted further questions, especially when Dr. Van Dut, the pathologist examining her, noted that her body was already in rigor mortis, a sign of death that typically begins about an hour after a person passes away. This detail implied that Ivana might have already been dead before she fell. Moreover, there was very little blood found at the scene of the fall. A fall from the 20th floor would have been fatal, and if Ivana had been alive when she hit the ground, the scene would likely have been far bloodier. The lack of blood at the impact site suggested her heart may have stopped beating before she went over the edge. This discovery raised even more doubts about the circumstances surrounding her death. Male DNA found under Ivana's nails, which was later confirmed to belong to Alex Johnson, was another troubling piece of evidence. Authorities suggested that this DNA just indicated prior intimate contact, but it still left open the possibility that Ivana's death was connected to something far darker. The height and layout of the Johnsons' balcony also seemed to contradict the claim of an accidental fall. Even someone heavily intoxicated would have found it difficult to simply topple over the edge due to the physical barriers in place, including an air conditioning unit that lined the edge of the balcony. In order for Ivana to have fallen, she would have had to climb over these obstacles, an action that seemed unlikely, particularly in her condition. This led investigators to consider more disturbing possibilities. Could Ivana have unknowingly overdosed on drugs at the Johnsons' apartment? Did the couple panic when they realized the consequences of having drugs in their home, especially given Malaysia's strict drug laws? Faced with the possibility of severe legal repercussions, could they have made a rash decision and thrown Ivana's body off the balcony in an attempt to cover up their actions? What about the bruises found on Ivana's arms? If these weren't the result of the fall, where did they come from? Could they have been the result of a struggle or an argument? Was there an altercation between Ivana and the Johnsons that escalated into something violent? Despite mounting pressure from Ivana's family, Malaysian authorities initially moved forward with an assumption that Ivana's death was an accident, leading them to present the case at a coroner's court in July 2018, about 6 months after her death. The court hearing, which was set to determine whether Ivana's death had truly been an accident or whether there was cause for further investigation, proceeded with some shocking revelations. However, the case was marked by the conspicuous absence of two key figures, Alex and Luna Johnson. Despite having lived in Malaysia for years, the couple had mysteriously left the country shortly after Ivana's death and relocated back to the United States. This decision left investigators, as well as Ivana's family, deeply frustrated, as they were no longer cooperating with the investigation. Their refusal to answer questions or provide any further details only fueled suspicion. During the court hearing, one of the Malaysian officers who had worked on Ivana's case made a shocking claim. The officer testified that her superior, Police Chief Fizzle, had ordered her to treat Ivana's death as an accident. According to the officer, she was given no choice in the matter, and Fizzle made it clear that the case was to be closed quickly. The officer described her experience under his command as hell on earth, a revelation that raised even more questions about the integrity of the investigation. With this new information, one might expect a full inquiry into possible corruption within the police force. But in the end, the judge presiding over the coroner's court ruled that Ivana's death was an accident. The case was closed without further investigation. Ivana's family, understandably outraged by this outcome, rejected the ruling, convinced that the truth had been hidden and that the investigation had been mishandled from the start. For them, the idea of a quick and simple conclusion seemed far from accurate, and they believed that there was more to Ivana's death than anyone was willing to admit. Determined to seek justice for their daughter, Ivana's family refused to give up the fight. They continued to challenge the official findings, feeling that there was a cover-up in play. They remained resolute in their belief that Ivana's death was not the result of a tragic accident, but rather something far more sinister. After Ivana's death, her family was not content with the local authorities' decision to dismiss the case as an accidental fall. They sought help from British investigator and television personality Mark Williams-Thomas, who was known for exposing the Jimmy Savile abuse scandal in a 2012 documentary. Williams-Thomas, in collaboration with UK lawyer David Wells, spent approximately £8,000, around $15,500, to conduct an unofficial investigation into Ivana's death. They traveled to Kuala Lumpur to compile a report that could offer the family a deeper understanding of what had truly happened. In an unexpected and bold statement, David Wells declared that Ivana's fatal fall was not an accident. He suggested that if the case had been handled in the UK, it would likely have been investigated as a homicide. This marked the beginning of a major turning point in the case. Wells and Williams-Thomas's statement gained significant attention, eventually prompting a dramatic change in the way the case was viewed in Malaysia. In March 2019, after years of legal battles, Malaysia's Supreme Court agreed to review the family's lawsuit. The court acknowledged that foul play could not be ruled out, especially since Ivana had sustained injuries prior to her fall. This decision represented a reversal of the initial ruling, which had classified her death as an accident. Now, Alex and Luna Johnson, the couple involved in the events leading up to Ivana's death, were named as potential suspects in the case. What had originally seemed like a simple, closed case was now far from resolved. The new ruling by the Supreme Court raised the stakes and brought the case back into the public eye. The court's decision to question the earlier conclusion of an accidental death was met with shockwaves throughout the country. Public outcry grew as many began to wonder why the Johnsons had left Malaysia so quickly after Ivana's death and why they had requested, and shockingly received, a second drug test that cleared their names. The ruling also led to widespread discussions about the influence of wealthy expatriates and the possible manipulation of the Malaysian legal system. Many questioned whether the Johnsons had used their financial means to avoid facing justice. The case stirred up intense debates about fairness, accountability, and corruption, with many calling for a deeper investigation into the Johnsons' actions and the authorities' handling of the case. Meanwhile, the Johnsons had relocated to Miami, Florida, on the opposite side of the world from Malaysia. It seemed that they hoped to distance themselves from the tragic events and escape the growing pressure surrounding Ivana's death. But their attempt to move on from the incident was disrupted in an unexpected way. A determined reporter from the Daily Mail, accompanied by a camera crew, tracked down Luna Johnson in Miami and attempted to get a comment on the case. In the footage, Luna remained polite but asked for the camera to be turned off. She explained that the family had been overwhelmed by online harassment and threats. One disturbing incident involved an anonymous caller claiming to be Luna's father, who reportedly contacted their daughter's school and implied a threat to kidnap their young daughter. This only added to the pressure Luna and her family were under. Despite the global attention the case was receiving, it seemed clear that the Johnsons were trying to distance themselves from the fallout. Many in the public, however, had already formed a strong opinion about the couple. They were seen as responsible for Ivana's tragic end, but true justice could only be achieved if Alex and Luna cooperated with the ongoing investigation. In October 2024, with mounting international pressure and the Malaysian Supreme Court's decision still fresh in the public's mind, authorities took a significant step. They issued an Interpol Blue Notice, requesting assistance in locating Alexander William Johnson, 51, and Lunara Almusisi Johnson, 37, in connection with Ivana's suspicious death. This request followed a similar notice issued in 2020, but had gained renewed attention after the recent court developments. Though Interpol has no direct jurisdiction over the United States, the US and Malaysia share an extradition agreement, which meant that if charges were filed, there could be legal grounds to pursue their return to Malaysia. However, It remains uncertain whether the charges, even with the Supreme Court's involvement, would be enough to secure extradition. In parallel, Ivana's mother, Christina Verstappen, filed a lawsuit against the Malaysian authorities. The lawsuit, which is currently underway as of October 2024, accuses the authorities of negligence and mishandling of Ivana's case. The complaint highlights several key failures, including the failure to properly secure the crime scene and the premature ruling on the cause of death. There are also allegations that the investigation was rushed and incomplete. Speculation has grown that an out-of-court settlement could be in the works, but the case remains ongoing. As the lawsuit proceeds, many are left wondering why the initial investigation was so quick to label Ivana's death as accidental and whether the authorities were too hasty in closing the case. The case continues to draw international attention, with many questioning whether the right answers will ever emerge. Ivana's family remains determined to uncover the truth, and despite the years of delay and resistance, they refuse to give up their quest for justice. With every new revelation, it becomes clearer that Ivana's tragic death is far from the straightforward accident the authorities initially claimed it to be. As of October 2024, the search for answers continues, with the case now a major focus of both legal and public interest. As the case of Ivana's tragic death continues to evolve, the search for answers has become a focal point not only for her grieving family, but also for the public. Despite the ongoing efforts from Ivana's loved ones, authorities, and even international figures, the true circumstances surrounding her untimely demise remain shrouded in uncertainty. What initially seemed like a straightforward accident has spiraled into a complex and deeply unsettling mystery, with new developments casting doubt on the original conclusions. The Johnsons, whose involvement in Ivana's final hours is undeniable, have distanced themselves from the events. Their departure from Malaysia shortly after her death, coupled with their refusal to cooperate with the investigation, has only fueled suspicions. It's clear that the Johnsons wish to leave the past behind, but their silence raises more questions than it answers. What do they know that they aren't willing to share? Why are they evading responsibility? Despite these troubling questions, the Malaysian justice system has so far failed to provide definitive answers. With the case still open and ongoing, Ivana's family is determined to see it through to the end. The recent decision by the Malaysian Supreme Court to review the case, acknowledging the possibility of foul play, offers a glimmer of hope that justice may still prevail. However, this outcome is far from certain, and with the Johnsons now living in the United States, extradition remains a challenging and uncertain prospect. One key aspect of this ongoing battle is the case against Malaysian authorities for their handling of Ivana's death. Her family has filed a lawsuit accusing the authorities of negligence and mishandling the investigation, citing failures such as not securing the crime scene and prematurely ruling the cause of death. As the legal battle unfolds, questions about the influence of wealth and power come into play. Could the Johnsons have used their financial means to escape justice? And if so, what does that say about the fairness of the system? In a final twist, authorities have now issued an Interpol Blue Notice for the Johnsons, aiming to track them down and bring them back to face charges. This is a significant step, though the outcome remains uncertain, especially given the complexities of international law. Still, with mounting pressure from the public and the media, there's hope that the truth will eventually come to light. For Ivana's family, there can be no peace until they understand what truly happened to their daughter. They've endured unimaginable pain, and their fight for justice is far from over. As the investigation continues, one thing is clear: they won't rest until the truth is revealed, no matter how long it takes.